Wife had been flirting with her coworker. She said she would stop, but it just happened again. Is there any future in this relationship? My wife and I have been married for slightly more than 3 years now. Last Christmas, I found she had been having a long conversation with a coworker of hers, in which they talked about having had sex multiple times and that they couldn't wait for the next one. The guy said he was going to book a hotel near their office right after Christmas. In this conversation, when he said he was looking forward to seeing my wife, she would reply with things like, "I'm looking forward to much more than just seeing you," etc. You get the idea. Overly flirty and sexual. When I confronted my wife, she denied the conversation existed. After deleting it, she showed me her phone to prove it didn't exist. But I had taken a few pictures. She then said it was all virtual and that they never did anything physical. To prove she was right, she messaged her coworker, in front of me, asking if he had booked the hotel. He replied, "Not yet." She then asked if he was really expecting them to meet, to which he replied negatively. She promised they would never talk again, and I agreed, simply because I love her a lot and wanted to trust her, but in my mind I wasn't completely sure she had been honest. For a few weeks, I must admit I checked her phones a few too many times, so she changed her password, which I was fine with because I was probably being too paranoid. This week, I picked her phone up because I needed a code that had been sent to her phone number. I didn't even need to unlock the screen to get it. To my surprise, under the message with the code there were other messages from the same guy. One of them was an audio. The second one was a shirtless photo of himself in front of a mirror. And the third one said "sweaty" and a few emojis with the tongue. I confronted her since she had promised they wouldn't talk ever again, and she said he just wanted to show her he's going to the gym to show progress, but that the rest of the times they talk it's just about work, and that this is just a coincidence. I asked her to show me the rest of their messages, but she said she had mistakenly deleted their conversation history. My wife said she's going to change this time, and that I never really forgave her, and that's why she kept talking to the guy. She says this time she's really going to stop, but I have a hard time believing it. Or even if she does stop, I fear when things don't go so well between us she'll do it again. I really love her but can't keep living like this. Is there any situation in which this can work? What would you do? Update. You were right. I ignored every single one of your comments and eventually caught my wife with the other man. This is a tough pill to swallow, and I can't say I hadn't been warned. This is my previous post. Many folks asked me to follow up with an update, so here it is, fresh from the oven. After reading every single comment of the Reddit post, my brain just couldn't overcome the catastrophe and the collapse of the world I had built for me, in which my wife is my love, my best friend and partner, as well as the person I admire the most. She was entirely perfect and made me happy for many years. I thought no couple in the world could have what we had. We were both very happy for a long time. We were both attractive. We were both inherently good, had big hearts, and were individually wildly successful in our careers. After the Reddit post, I moved to an Airbnb and eventually with family to think things through. It was a terrible time, but a psychologist helped me recover from a terrible mental state. It coincided with the pandemic hitting very hard in my city. I caught the virus, which didn't help. During this time, we kept talking and my wife was very sorry and continued saying they hadn't met. I knew it wasn't true but was willing to forgive the woman of my dreams, who continued being in the highest altar of my universe. Fast forward last Saturday morning, I went back to our place, ready to forgive her and talk things through in the most mature way possible. And well, there she was. But I was the one who received the biggest surprise, to say the least. The guy was in my house naked, and so was my wife. The guy from the messages. The guy from the pics. The one she said she didn't even like. I caught him hiding in my bathroom as my wife was putting her pajamas on. When I saw him hiding in my bathroom, he uttered, "Sorry, dude." For a second I asked myself, is this where I kill him? But I instantly replied, I got nothing against you, because the guy was just nailing this hot woman. even if he was doing so in a house full of pictures of me, pictures of our wedding and our families, pictures of my dead father who would be so sad to see how the marriage he never witnessed was going to end. He has always been the reason I try to make the world a better place. He passed away 2 months before our wedding. I'm sorry. I still love her to death, but I understand enough is enough. Even if my world collapses, I hope I can build a new one without lies, and in which I'm not just a blind believer under an altar of a fake God. Godspeed. Story 2. My wife and I had been married for slightly more than 3 years when I stumbled upon something that would forever alter the course of our relationship. It was Christmas, a time of celebration and togetherness, but what I discovered shattered the holiday spirit. The evidence lay within a series of messages exchanged between my wife and her coworker, revealing a level of intimacy that sent shockwaves through my world. In those texts, they openly discussed having engaged in sexual encounters multiple times, eagerly anticipating the next rendezvous. The coworker's intentions were explicit, even mentioning plans to book a hotel near their workplace right after the holiday season. My wife's responses were overly flirtatious and laden with sexual innuendos. Her words left little room for doubt. Her connection with this coworker was far from innocent. Confronting my wife about the messages, I was met with denial. She claimed the conversation didn't exist, and to support her claim, willingly showed me her phone. But I had taken precautionary pictures, which she was unaware of. She then asserted that it was merely a virtual exchange, and that nothing physical had transpired between them. In a bid to reassure me, she messaged her coworker right in front of me, asking if he had booked the hotel. His reply, "Not yet." She probed further, inquiring if he genuinely anticipated their meeting, to which he replied negatively. She promised that their communication would cease, and I, driven by my love for her and a desire to rebuild trust, agreed, albeit with lingering doubts. In the following weeks, I admit to having grown somewhat paranoid, frequently checking her phone. Recognizing my unwarranted suspicion, she changed her password. I understood her reasons and accepted it, chalking it up to my own insecurities. However, recent events took an unexpected turn. Needing a code sent to her phone, I picked it up without unlocking the screen. What I found sent chills down my spine. Messages from the same coworker. Among the messages was an audio recording, followed by a shirtless photo of the coworker posing in front of a mirror. The final message was a simple "sweaty," accompanied by a string of suggestive emojis. Confronting my wife about this blatant breach of trust, she explained the messages as harmless, the coworker's way of showcasing his fitness progress. She assured me that their communication, apart from these instances, was work-related and that the appearance of these messages was purely coincidental. She claimed that she had unintentionally deleted their conversation history when I asked to see it. My wife insisted that this time, she genuinely intended to change her ways, emphasizing that I had never truly forgiven her. She contended that it was my reluctance to forgive that had driven her to continue talking to the coworker. While she pledged to stop, I found it challenging to believe her. Even if she kept her promise, I couldn't shake the fear that, in moments of relationship turmoil, she might be tempted to repeat her actions. My love for her was undeniable, but I couldn't endure a life plagued by doubt and mistrust. As I grappled with the situation, I pondered whether there was any hope for our relationship to survive. Could there be a scenario where trust could be rebuilt, or was the damage too extensive to mend? I was left with a multitude of questions, seeking guidance and contemplating the best course of action.